Once again, my name is Proscovier Vikman. I come from Uganda, and I'm here on behalf of the Urban Forum. I'm the president of Entebbe Municipal Development Forum. For the last few days, you've had the role of urban forums, and Entebbe happens to be the 14 municipalities under Cities Alliance arrangement. And I'm glad that our moderator started on that note, that I feel I'm proud. Half of the times, I think as Africans, we fail to tell our true story, and we wait for somebody else to tell our story. And when I flip it, I think as for women of Africa, we are on, I think, our own worst enemy, because as the moderator rightly said, we have successful stories, but who is telling that story? And I think this discussion, and since Cities Alliance has brought it on board, could we have African women voices? And my answer to this, I just put a few briefs, and my approach is that let's look at what has gender done, that we're not only looking at, am I a woman, but what is gender beyond that? If I'm a woman, it means that I'm the mother, I'll be your sister, you'll be your auntie, you'll be your grandma. And when you go back to our African roots, we are working more. But do we quantify that? No. Let's go back to our cities. We plan the cities, and half of the time, you're not looking at the woman who is into that city. And I'm not looking at only the elite women. I'm looking at the mother who is selling tomatoes on the street. I'm looking at the chapati seller who is selling those tomatoes to take her kid back. Are we planning for that person? And this goes also to the urban managers, the mayors in these cities. So how can our urban planners plan cities that can accommodate me? I'm not talking about now the woman that is not strong. I'm talking about an African woman. I'm industrious. How can you create opportunities for me? If you're creating a city that is only going to look at the elite, I think we are going to miss the point. I want a city that is inclusive. Look at the woman. Let me just give you an example of Entebbe. We have an airport, and most people think that Entebbe is an affluent place, but come at lunchtime, they don't go to those big hotels. They go to the local mamas who are selling the local food. And Civil Aviation Authority in Entebbe is the biggest employer in Entebbe with 3,000 workers. But none of them goes to the high class to buy the food. They go back to the local kiosks at lunchtime. What does it mean? That when you're planning for Entebbe, I want you to plan also for that person who is probably cooking the small foods. I want you to plan for that child who might not go to the international school, but if the mother is busy cooking, she wants her kid to be comfortable somewhere in a playground. If you plan that city, it's only concrete, there's no playground, you're missing the point, because you're not only going to affect me, who is selling my tomato, because my mind won't be on the economics, would be on how safe is my child. So I'm asking that our best story should be how industrious is the African woman, both from the local, the elite, and medium. 2, can you bring us to the table? You're planning the city to who? Is it the buildings? Is it the cars? A city should be inclusive. And inclusiveness means that give me the opportunity to negotiate what I want to do. And the opportunity would be that give me the voice. How do we get that voice? And this is my simple way of looking at it. The voice in the urban centers are there. And I'm saying that those are the voices that say, I want my kids safe. I want my kid to be in a school while I'm busy preparing food or selling small kiosks or selling airtime. You saw the figures in Mbarara that women are actually doing better. I'm talking about Mbarara because that's Uganda where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. So give me that so that I can be able to bring something new into the city, bring some more creativity within my working capacity. Then two, where are these voices? I go back to Entebbe. If you looked at Entebbe, we are surrounded by the lake, Lake Victoria. We have only one entrance, and then the other exit is the airport. Now, if you want to develop Entebbe, and you're not looking at, if you've ever been to Uganda, you would notice that we have traffic jam on Entebbe Road to Kampala from Thursday to Sunday. And the reason is everybody else is visiting the beaches. And where do you find them? At Entebbe. Now, who is giving that business? Is the local tourism. And who are these local tourism? They are the youth, they are the women with the craft, they are those who are fishmongers. How do you plan for Entebbe if you want that to be vibrant enough? You need to bring me on the table so that you hear what I'm saying. You plan according to what I need, not what you think we need. The second bit that I need, and I think I want to thank the moderator, if we have 50% as GDP contribution from Africa, what are these trades that are giving us? And most of us are trading in small areas, but this is what has kept our economies working. But are we getting the investment opportunities that can help us? My answer is no. How can we help ourselves get out of this? And I'm glad that also the previous speakers were saying that we don't want the begging syndrome. And I don't think that urban dwellers, especially the women, would want to beg. If you asked me what I need most as an urban dweller or somebody who wants to be in the urban city that you've planned, I want you to hear my voice. I want you to give me an opportunity to operate in my space. And that space, let it be planned, but plan with me inclusive. Plan for my youth, other than saying the youth are in their numbers, they are jobless, and maybe they're into drugs, but we've sold all the open spaces. How do we get that energy out? So we need those football pitches, we need those green areas, we need areas that we can develop as cities. Then the other one is, I'll talk about also Africa. We have a good success story. I don't know how many of you know about AfriChicks. These are young women engineers. I say young, they are between 20 and 35. And they've come up with apps that can solve problems, from the agro markets to sickle cells to everything else. But nobody seems to know about it. Probably it's Uganda, Ghana, and maybe Nairobi that know about these girls. But they have presented a good story even to the World Bank. Are we holding them into account? I don't think so. So who is going to tell this story if we are planning the cities, they are out of the system? We are looking at the numbers, but which numbers are we looking at? Who is telling our story? My appeal, and this goes to the urban managers, that bring the women back on the drawing board. Let's have that open discussion, that a woman is not a beggar. We are not going just to be selling tomatoes. I want to be in that CEO room. I want to be a decision maker. How do I change that? By you accepting that I'm an equal partner in decision making, that I'm the person who is bringing the 50% of your GDP. But if you acknowledge that, then put the money where it's worth. And I'm glad how the moderator raised it, that sometimes when it comes to the women, the budgets seem to be going lower. Why? I think we've not appreciated the role that the women are bringing on board, especially in Africa. When you look at the businesses, the small businesses that are keeping our small economies going in Africa, it's by women. If you want to look at the success stories where it's less corruption, you'll have the women in charge. So can we at least balance the table and bring that discussion openly? My last submission is I want to appeal to all the women in the world, but also our brothers and sisters, that there is no way you're going to develop Africa if you're not looking at the woman to be the center stage, the center of the attraction, especially with economic development. Thank you so much.